Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I am the CEO, president, co-founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I've been involved in 17 startups and 2 unicorns. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Yva.ai, an AI HR tech company that co-founded with Dr. David Yang. GSD is Get You Done Venture Studios, and it's with that I introduce an incredible guest, Adam Matalon. Adam is an award-winning, Emmy-nominated, and Oscar-qualifying director and producer with UK and US passports. He's worked across continents on all kinds of different programs for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You've had a celebrity edition, just all kinds. In fact, I want to ask him about poo because that sounds interesting too. But he's had incredible history from a Discovery Communications to High Noon Entertainment. So with that, I'd like to bring him on board. So here goes. Adam. Hi, Adam. How you doing today?
Hey, Gary. Nice to see you again. How are you?
Yeah, nice to see you. So I got a question for you. What made you
Yes.
decide to go into entertainment? And, I looked down through your career. By the way, what's RADA? It says RADA in theater. How did you, and it says the Jersey Channel Islands. What is RADA?
Well, RADA is the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, where I
Mhm.
studied for a while. And Jersey and the Channel Islands, I lived there for a little bit when I was a boy. And actually, one of my sisters was born there. Um, but so I went to school in Jersey for a while. The old Jersey, not New
The real
Jersey.
Jersey, right?
Yes, yeah, old Jersey,
The
not
authentic
new.
Jersey. Yeah. I got it. So not like the New York, the York. You know what I mean? You got the original stuff, right? But so
Exactly.
how did you go down through and you know when you're going down through it? I have a question for you. So you're working at Sesame Workshop, Wizard Entertainment. You deal with a lot of celebrities all the time. How is it when you're doing this, Adam? How is it to deal with these celebrities? What's it like?
Listen, I have a very clearly delineated sort of strategy and approach to this, which is that I don't treat them really much different than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I think that obviously celebrity comes, I think my personal experience has always been that the people that need managing are the entourage and the gatekeepers, not the celebrities themselves. But I also came up, listen, I grew up in the theater, right? My parents were both Broadway people. My parents met working together on Broadway. My mother is a Tony winner. So I kind of had experiences of interacting with people who live, in a rarefied air as a child. And so for me, when I started as a young man interacting with stars, I, it was I was just like, okay, we're all here to do a job, and I think in a weird way that gained me a lot of respect from them. I've never really had issues, I know that even even this whole thing, somebody can be difficult, and sure, somebody can be demanding, but I think a lot of the time when somebody is demanding, it's because they want things to be perfect because they're perfectionists, and I appreciate that as a sort of approach.
So how is it like, you've been through this. So these people are, you say the entourage, is it true? Do they have a lot of people that go with them?
You know what? Some people show up in an Uber, right? And some people show up in a you know 10-year-old car because they just don't care about those things. And other people show up with too many people. I think that I don't want to be mean-spirited here, but I think there is a certain truth to the fact that the bigger the star, the smaller the entourage.
Seriously?
Yeah, I mean, I think, people are there to work. They get it. They understand the business, the way it works. And I think that the advent of unscripted and reality TV has also created, you know, a sort of echelon of celebrity who are celebrities without having sort of put in their time. And I think that's an interesting way to define it, because I think a lot of actors and musicians, people who come from more of a conservatory training background, they understand what it is to do your 10,000 hours as opposed to being just handed something. So, you know, listen, I love creative people. I love creative people, storytellers. I always find it a challenge if somebody says, "Oh, so and so's difficult." I'm like, "Great, I want to work with them," because that means they're opinionated, and so am I.
But when you work with, like, you know, well, I'll ask you a couple of things. The Kardashians, right? I don't
Right.
know about you, but like I saw them get started. It was like interesting to see how they took a normal situation, just from my perspective, and turned it into this incredible multi-billion-dollar opportunity. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, they're not really actors and actresses, right? I don't even know what they are. What are they?
I I can't speak to that success. I mean, obviously they come from a family entrenched in the show business world in the LA scene. Um, I it's not my personal cup of tea in terms of what I would want to watch. I don't get it, but I celebrate the
Adam,
talent.
you and
The
me
ta-
both. I don't get it either. It's like hard to figure out, but I know one thing: they're making a lot of money, whatever it
make
is.
it make a lot of money, make a lot of people happy, and honestly keeping a lot of people in my industry working, right? Which means they're generating income not just for themselves but for a lot of other people, and that trickles down.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. So let's go down through. So, you know, so you've met with a lot of, you know, people wonder who's like, you know, who's a really nice celebrity. I'm not going to ask you who the really bad was, but who's somebody you wouldn't expect that's really nice and you can hang around like a normal person.
um Often it's musicians. You know, I think what working on Sesame Street, for instance, we had a lot of, you know, big celebrity and bands come through, you know, from Dixie Chicks to BB King, you know, Sheryl Crow, like a lot of just legacy artists, Goo Goo Dolls. I mean, just like lots of people like that. Generally super nice because again, they're used to working. Trying to think of like a big celebrity. I feel like wow, you've got put me on the spot because I actually in the Sesame Street scenario, I can't actually think of somebody who wasn't nice. But I think it's such an incredible place to be, and I think
Well,
it's
I
so
mean, you're
much.
coming to Sesame Street. It's a kid
Yeah.
show. Who's not going to be nice? You know what I mean?
But I mean, like for instance, Robert De Niro was a guest one time, and you know he was just very quiet and unassuming, and sort of just wanted to be directed and there to have fun and do you know spend the whatever it was 2 hours, you know, in there. So
No, that's incredible. And so, you know, you've gone down through, you've had this incredible life. How did you like migrate? So you were at Disney, you know, Chatsby, Al Roker Entertainment. Like, how do you move from one opportunity to another? How does it, you know, in a job you get hired, you get interviewed. Is it the same thing or is it really your
well,
portfolio?
so you look, I started as a freelancer, you know, coming into film and television originally as, in fact, my first ever jobs in film and TV were in the lighting department. Then I've transitioned into stage managing and being an assistant director before starting to direct and write and produce. You know, being a freelancer, you're constantly meeting people, interviewing for positions, shows come up, and then, you know, about 18 years ago, sounds like absurd, but right at the beginning, I was like, well, I want to start my own company just as a vehicle for things I want to make for myself, you know, passion projects. So I started Chatsby Films, and that has had, you know, an interesting life because it's been both a bricks and mortar in New York, a bricks and mortar in LA, and then more of a sort of development company. But I've always had that as a foundation, so that when I wasn't working on network projects or developing projects for other people, I would always come back and produce projects through that company. But it's, weirdly, it's fundamentally a sort of freelance environment, except that, for instance, in the last decade, as I've been show running shows, and my fancy title is executive producer, but the slang is showrunner, which is basically overseeing all of the creative interacting between the production company and the network, the seller and the buyer, and making sure that everything happens, both creatively, technically, building the teams. So the analogy is best placed to say, a showrunner is kind of like the CEO of the show.
The CEO of the show. So showrunner? And what does it mean?
Yeah.
Are you like an executive producer, or what is that?
You are the executive producer, but you're the executive producer who is in charge of championing the creative interacting, as I said, between the production services and production company and the buyer, the network or financier, to make sure that everybody's voices are heard, and also to keep everybody to some degree in check. The joke is, as a showrunner, you always put a big target on your back, because in success, everybody wants to share the glory, but in failure, they only want to blame you.
Yeah, you're right. But I think that's everything, though. You know what I mean? If you're the CEO of the company, when it's going up, of course, you put them in and you help them and you're on the board. But when you're going down, man, you're the one that takes a shot.
Yeah. So listen, I've enjoyed it, and then in the last 2 or 3 years, I mean, COVID was for me very interesting, because it allowed me some introspection about what do I want to be doing next. I've always had a real interest in business and technology. I mean, back as far as 2013, Bloomberg TV did their first ever business series called The Mentor, where big time CEOs of major companies were paired with small businesses in the $5 to $10 million range to try to address specific issues that a company had in terms of how they scale. And that was a 3-season show, and I loved that, and I've always remained very intrigued in that area. I developed with a creative partner, Richard Joel, a show revolving around Joey Scioli, who's the CEO of Grimaldi's Pizza, for instance, for Spike about 3-4 years ago. And then, recently last year, and for the last 18 months, working on Unicorn Hunters. And now I am developing also in the business space. How does business and storytelling meet content? Because I feel like it's the one untapped area of content. But what I've also understood is that storytelling for new business, for emerging companies and startups, is so fundamental and is often kind of lacking as a foundational construct.
I just had a conversation with somebody about that yesterday in New Orleans. We had a deep conversation, because people on one side of it, you're an actor, right? But you have to provide, enchant people, make it interesting for them, tell them the story in a compelling and interesting way, so that you're painting pictures with words, and they're facts, right? But you're making it beautiful and interesting. So yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I literally had that conversation yesterday.
I think that it's really interesting because, having the opportunity, look, for every company that presents on Unicorn Hunters, I have interacted and spoken with 10 others, and I've heard their pitches, I've spoken to them, and some of them are amazing companies. It's not that they're not good enough, it's that they're not quite right, or they're not ready, or they, in a couple of cases of the last season, they were in Australia and COVID stopped them coming over. There's amazing technology and emerging companies happening all over the world. But one of the things that I noticed was that pitches, and you'll know this, and I'm sure listeners will understand this, pitches often are just a regurgitation of a lot of facts and figures. And I sort of feel that if you can read it in a prospectus, why spend the time just parroting it? As you say, you need to enchant this audience, right? And so, and so interestingly, to tee it up, so I've just started, and it hasn't even launched. It won't launch till July 1st, but a new boutique kind of offshoot of my company called Message HQ. And the whole fundamental purpose of this is to create this sort of almost like media incubator. It's like a media consultancy for companies to curate bespoke storytelling skills. So whether it be one-on-one with a founder or just having, the employees, whether it's 5 or 50, all understand the passion, all understand that if they're at a bar in a room, even if they're lowest on the rung, they know how to evangelize that brand. And I love to use the word evangelize because, I mean, we're really like, it's a calling out, like, come step in line with me because I have a vision.
No, I agree 100%. And, sometimes the CEOs of the companies don't understand how powerful it is because you can't sell if you can't tell a story. It's really difficult to sell. And I remember I took a course at Stanford, and that course was at a acting coach and a business coach. And the idea was storytelling, right? We get in front of the group, and I didn't realize how powerful or how important it is until you get in front of people and you have to practice and practice and practice. And oh, by the way, you get pretty good at it. After a while, you get intuitive about it. You can feel where you need to go, right? And things change.
I would say the one thing, people always say, what's the best piece of advice that, when pitching, I always say, make sure you listen as well, right? You don't just talk, you actually, and that to speak to what you were saying about acting, scene work and improvisation is as much about what you give to somebody else as what you receive, but also, are you picking up? So sometimes it's, you have to be present when you're pitching, right? You have to read the room. If somebody smiles over to that left corner, use that, turn to that person, explain that to that person, and that triggers something else because then you're engaging.
Well, that's acting. I mean, actors on stage, right? That's what they got to do. So you've gone down through it. How in the world? I got a question for you. You were Emmy nominated and also Oscar qualifying. How in the world, aren't these a lot of political organizations, or how do you get to win an Emmy or an Oscar? Is it because of your skill sets, or is it because you're also connected with a lot of people and they'll help you? What's the real deal?
At the risk of being hung out and strung up, there's a lot of shoulder rubbing and friendship stuff that goes into these things. It would be a lie to say that awards aren't something of a popularity at contest. I think, and sometimes people get an Oscar deservedly, not because of that particular movie, but because of not getting an Oscar for other movies, and I think when you get nominated, it's a really simple thing. For the Emmys, you make a television show, and then every show does this. Every show has to submit themselves for an Emmy. You don't just get nominated. So you nominate yourself, the producers, and then from that, based on votes, there becomes a short list, and eventually the short list becomes the ballot, and that's what gets read out to. And from there, they pick a winner. So, I've worked on a bunch of Emmy-winning shows. A lot of the kids' shows I did won Emmys. The Book of Pooh, Bear in the Big Blue House, Sesame Street, Between the Lions, they all won Emmys. So, and then with the Oscars, it's, I did a wonderful film that I was really proud of that I wrote and directed, that qualified for the 2020 Oscars. And that really means that it won a bunch of festival awards, and screened theatrically. And as a result of that, it qualified to go into the pool, and we did really well. We did not make it to the final ballot, but it's amazing experience and very proud of that.
No, that's great. And so do they have you have people that help you push your message out, the like PAC committees? Do they have do they have the same thing when you're doing an Emmy? Do you hire people that basically can help you win because they help push your message out? Do they do those kind of things or not?
Yeah, I mean that's really cool. Publicists, I guess, and you hire a publicist. Right now we are in Emmy season, so because I'm a member of the Television Academy, and I am a voter. I get lots and lots and lots of invitations to events, digital screener links saying, please watch our show, please vote. And I try to watch as much as I can. There's no way I could possibly watch everything that's being thrown out there. I have a rule myself, which is that I won't vote on a category if I haven't, focused on it. So there are certain categories I tend not to vote in, just because I feel it would be unfair to just, pick a name out of a hat because I know somebody or this and that. I try to do it based on, what I think's good work.
No, it's amazing. So tell us a little bit about your new endeavor, about the messaging and all that. That sounds pretty interesting, and how you can help startups and companies. So tell us a little bit about it.
So as I said, so Unicorn Hunters, which is a independently financed series about pre-IPO companies going to market, and it has a sort of crowdfunding mechanism whereby accredited investors can invest directly. So I started work on that in December of 2019, I think, or 2020, I can't remember now, and helped develop out the idea, and then we got greenlit, and we did several cycles of shooting. And as I said, I got to work with so many great companies, both domestic and international, and got to meet so many others. And I began to really hone in on some missing links that I saw in their development of the storytelling. And we did a lot of work, and I personally did a lot of work with the founders, CEOs, the equivalent really of executive coaching, in sometimes. I mean, really working with them on their
people
pitch.
don't think about this, so Adam. They don't think about, how important it is to have the finesse and being able to speak to people, whether it's potential customers or in front of a group of thousands, right? How it's like, it's a difference between an incredible CEO, an incredible executive, somebody that's moderate. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah, and so I coming out of that experience, I thought, look, I really want to work with these kinds of companies more, but I want to do it in a more in-depth, granular way, because I think I can help them grow and affect change. So I started Message HQ, and why is it Message HQ? Because we're talking about storytelling, we're talking about messages, and I want to be a headquarters for messages. And I describe it as a bespoke creative incubator and media consultancy for emerging brands and technology startups. So we're focused on distilling the message, but also the emotions that drive a brand, and then how can they convert that message into content that can build a tribe,
right?
And I use the word tribe rather than a customer, because I think brands that are emerging need to build people who brand loyalty. They need to understand beyond just, does it help me save 2 seconds in my day? What else does it do for me? So, and what we want to remain really boutique. We're going to be, as we move into, we're already going out to several people who have expressed interest, but we want to keep our clientele small. We don't want to just take everybody on. We want to kind of cut it off when we reach what we think is our limit. We're going to say we can't, there's a waiting list. But it's really drawing on sort of best-in-class expertise in broadcast storytelling to work with them. And effectively, for many companies, they don't have a chief strategy officer, right?
Right.
Well,
they can't afford it. I mean, they don't have the money because they're small. And then, how do you justify it to your board? Because one thing. I mean, that would be kind of under marketing and messaging, and so they would
And
put it under there.
right. And so kind of I think part of what we want to do is be a resource to kind of, for those people who can't take that on board full time, how can we help be their sort of outsourced, you know, CSO? Because chief strategy officer, I like to think of it as also chief storytelling officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are you trying to say? And so you know, we've got a couple of strategic alliances with people who are developing, you know, Net Capital, who are a crowdfunder for startups, working with them at Scott Livingston Securities, and Scott's company does a lot with emerging brands. So we ourselves are not going to really advertise. I mean, I love talking about it, but we're gonna go out through our connections, and obviously there are a couple of the founders from Unicorn Hunters that I continue to have sort of relationship with, like meaning past presenters. And that's sort of what we're doing. We want to create, you know, the objective is to work with companies to build this cocoon of trust and emotional security so that they can share their strengths, their weaknesses, and what are their mission critical objectives. Because sometimes people are so scared to go, I don't know what the right step is.
Mm-hmm.
And we want to say, that's okay. Let's figure that out together
Mm-hmm.
in a safe space. And it sounds, you know, I don't want to get all woo-woo about a safe space, but you understand what I mean. Sometimes it's
I
also
know.
going
I
to.
mean, the thing is, a lot of these people have never done it before. I mean, they come with technology backgrounds. They're not good at public speaking. They
Right.
don't know marketing and messaging. I mean, you know, I've had a number of them. I remember a PowerPoint presentation I got one time. It had packed full information, packed, like you could barely read it. And I said to the CEO of the company, actually chief technology officer, founder, one of the co-founders, I said, why did you put so much information? He said, because people are going to want to look at this like it's a document. They're going to want to read the PowerPoint. I said, that's not what they want. They want to be enchanted. If you can't excite them and get them happy and feeling good about it, you know, create that electricity, they're never going to read this. They're just not going to do it. In fact, it's going to be a paradoxical effect because you got so much crap on there, they're not going to even look at it.
Well, right. So what we want to be doing as a small boutique is, you know, whether it's executive coaching or building out a B-roll library or doing, you know, little executive profiles or brand stories, you know, we can offer all of that. And sometimes it's going to be as simple as reading their copy and giving them, you know, there's a company that we've been consulting with, and they sent a tag, an AI powered all-in-one travel app for a simple way to plan, book, and manage your entire journey with unique curated experiences. And then they follow it up with awesome experiences simplified. And tiny little microcosm. I say, well, you've used the word experiences twice in 3 words.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it, by the way. That's not a wow statement. That's kind of like what an engineer does or somebody doesn't understand marketing, right?
So it would be, you know, with unique created adventures, because an adventure is something we all want to go on. An experience is something we all have every day anyway. And again, like I said, microcosm example of helping people tantalize and excite.
Yeah, no, I agree. You know, I
so
always
that
painting pictures with words. Somebody said, well, what do you do? I said, well, we're kind of like the Indiana Jones of startups. You know,
I love that.
And you know, you capture where you're painting those pictures with words. Listen, we're coming at the top of the hour, so wanted to get your closing thoughts and how do people get a hold of you if they want to proceed?
So as I said, we're launching officially July 1st, but people can reach out to me at dream@messagehq.net. And I don't mind your listeners. My direct email there is my first name, adam@messagehq.net. But the catch-all email is dream@messagehq.net, because again, we don't want to be info. We want to be about people's dreams and aspirations and their stories. I'm really excited and, you know, looking forward to working with our current and our future clients as we develop content.
No, that's great. Adam, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule. It's fascinating to understand, all the things that you've done from Sesame Street to where you are today. And the experience, your wide experiences. In fact, I've never seen a CV. I've seen a lot. I've never seen one that's as rich in entertainment as yours. It's incredible. And startups that are out there, listen, as you're going down through this journey, remember storytelling is critically important. You need to paint pictures with words. You got to make it enchanting and exciting and interesting to be able to capture their attention. You need to do it like Steve Jobs. Paint the pictures with words. So for all of you out there, thank you again for understanding and coming to one more episode of GSD Presents Silicon Valley AI and Tech. And I'm your host, Gary Fowler. Stay tuned for another exciting edition next Tuesday. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay healthy. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Adam, for your time. And everybody out there, stay happy. Take care. Bye-bye.